What is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. And on this episode, we have our guest, Catharine Arnston, and she is the founder of ENERGYbits. So, as you've heard me talk many times before, I talk about spirulina a lot. I talk about chlorella sometimes, and not as much as spirulina. So, here we have an expert in the field of algae. So, Catharine has done a phenomenal job of educating people. She is really a true teacher at heart, is what I feel. And so she is going to be sharing with us today many of the great benefits of algae and how this has been something that's been kind of hidden from the Western world in terms of a superfood. So I'm not going to talk too much because Catharine is the expert here. So Catharine, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. And it's so nice to talk to you, Rob, here we're both in Massachusetts.
We
That rarely
are.
happens.
It rarely happens. Usually everyone's in
Yeah,
California,
I know.
Texas, Florida.
Colorado,
Yeah,
Canada, all the sea places.
right. Well, Catherine, I'd love to have you start just by sharing what got you into studying this stuff, because obviously, in my experience, anybody in the world of health and wellness who has a passion for it starts with a pain point. And I feel for me, as my listeners know, it started for me when I was 17. I had a concussion, which kind of began my whole development in the whole world of holistic health and personal development. So I'd love to have you share your story of what got you involved to where you are today.
Yeah, because algae is not on everybody's radar screen. It certainly wasn't on mine. And as I tell people, I didn't look for algae. It looked for me and found me. So as I mentioned, I live here in Massachusetts. I'm in Boston. I've lived here 33 years, actually, although I'm Canadian by birth, and all my family's still in Canada. So, and I mentioned that because I have an MBA and I was doing international business. And then 12 years ago, out of the blue, my younger sister, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer. Now, I just want to assure your listeners, she's fine now. She's 10 years cancer free. But 12 years ago, when she was diagnosed, her oncologist, who is a cancer specialist, advised her to change her diet to an alkaline diet before she started her chemotherapy. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first thing she did when she got home from that visit was to call me, because of course I'm her big sister and love her. And I said, I have no idea what this alkaline diet stuff is, but I'll find out and we will do this together. And I did find out, and you can too. It's on the internet anywhere. An alkaline diet is mostly foods that have a pH that is alkaline, and it turned out to be mostly plants. So because they have phytonutrients and chlorophyll, which are very alkaline, and we can dig into the importance of alkaline if you want later on. So anyway, she changed her diet. She went through chemo. She completely healed. In the process of helping her learn about plant-based nutrition, I read about 10 books and thought, wow, this is powerful stuff. Somebody should tell the rest of the world about this. And of course, that was 12 years ago. And nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition then like they are now. So I thought, well, I'm going to do something about it. I have no idea how or what, and I had no education whatsoever in nutrition or biochemistry or nothing. So I enrolled in a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I got a 1-year certificate in health coaching, which gave me a baseline of knowledge of nutrition. And then I taught plant-based nutrition for free at corporations and hospitals here in the Boston area. Basically, anybody would let me in. And this is really where my epiphany happened, which led me truly to algae. My epiphany was this. As I was teaching people the importance of vegetables, eating vegetables, I wasn't telling them anything that they didn't already know, that their mothers hadn't already been trying to tell them. Everybody knew they should be eating more vegetables. However, the reality is, and I'm sure your listeners will appreciate this, there were too many obstacles. Maybe they didn't live near a grocery store, or if they did, the choice was really bad, or they weighed too much to carry home. They take up a lot of room in your fridge. They take a long time to cook, to clean, to eat, or maybe your kids won't eat them, or your husband won't eat them. The litany of excuses and obstacles was too long and prevented 99% of people from eating the vegetables that really would benefit them. So that, okay, I have to find something that has all the green nutrition that's in vegetables, that's alkaline, that's safe, blah, 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 blah. And so back to the internet I went and looked at everything that I'd originally found for my sister. Nothing was working. And then boom, I got to algae. And that's when the miracle happened. And that was, as I say, about 11 years ago, and the miracle is still happening because, check this out about algae. First of all, it's the most alkaline food in the world, and that's what got me started on all this. It also has the highest amount of chlorophyll in the world. Chlorophyll is the pigment that makes plants green. It has a lot of healing benefits. Algae has 1,000 times more chlorophyll than Chinese greens. It has 200 times more chlorophyll than spinach. It even has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. So off the charts with the chlorophyll. It's also off the charts with nutrients and protein. Did you know that algae has 3 times the amount of protein as steak? Yep, it has the highest concentration of protein in the entire world. And this is why the United Nations endorsed it back in 1974 as the answer to world hunger, because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world and is a sustainable crop. We're getting close to Earth Day, and the sustainability issue cannot be understated. And if, by the way, while we're talking about sustainability, there's a movie that just came out called Seaspiracy by Netflix, and I urge everyone to watch it. And by the way, when you watch it, you'll see that they're near the end of the movie. The 2 things that they recommend are that you refrain or reduce your amount of eating seafood, and you eat algae. Algae is a sustainable source of protein and a sustainable source of omega-3. So anyways, it's got all this great protein, and it is the most nutrient dense food in the world. And this is a quote from NASA. NASA says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables, 1 to 1,000. And as you'll see from, we'll talk later on, but we sell on our website, ENERGYbits.com, our algae in tiny tablets that you can swallow or chew. And each bag has 1,000 tablets. And I did the math, and each bag has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables that you did not have to cook, clean, or eat. So not only does it have high alkaline, not only does it have all that chlorophyll, not only is it high protein, nutrient dense, it has been used around the world for centuries, thousands of years, and most notably for the last 50 in Asia, where they use it every day. In Japan, they don't take supplements, they take chlorella algae every day. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture of it. This one is actually a spirulina farm, because algae is not a supplement. It's a food crop. It's a vegetable that's grown. We grow ours in Taiwan in fresh water, then we air dry it, and then we press it into tiny tablets. So people are stunned to find out that algae is food, but it's been used in Asia for so long, and but it's never taken off here in America, and I'm going to explain why. It's mostly because the quality's been poor and the packaging's been poor, and there's been no education. And then on top, as if that wasn't enough, algae is the most studied food in the world. There's almost 100,000 studies documenting the benefits we're going to talk about today, all in scientific libraries around the world, including the NIH, the National Institute of Health. And we have a lot of them on our website. So whatever I tell you today is documented in peer-reviewed studies. Things like improving your energy, reducing your inflammation, satisfying your hunger, improving your skin and hair, improving your biome, improving your, decreasing the likelihood of chronic disease, healing from chronic disease. It's endless, and it's all science-based. So when I learned all about this about algae 12 years ago, when I stumbled into it, I thought, man, this is crazy stuff. Like, why doesn't anybody know about this? And I thought, well, I'm going to devote the rest of my life to making sure people do find out about it. And I've been into this now for 11 years. So I've spent 11 years researching algae. I feel like I've got a PhD in algae, but I'm very eager to share it, because why should the Asian communities be the only ones benefiting from this? We have health issues too. We have nutritional deficiencies too. We certainly have COVID too. And this stuff will be the easiest, fastest way to improve everything about your health, your nutrition, your energy, protect you from, and your immune system in just a couple of tablets a day. And it's remarkable food. I couldn't live without it myself. So here I am to tell you about the easiest, fastest thing that you can do to get back the life that you used to have, or keep the one that you do have.
Beautifully said. A lot of fun-packed information in there. And, something that I always recognize is that the term superfoods has been thrown around a lot in the past couple of years. And I feel like people, it's kind of lost its meaning, but really what it means is just highly nutrient dense foods.
Yes.
And that's what I see as spirulina. I see things like wheatgrass, chlorella, a lot of these greens that you don't need a lot of. And I know that, the caloric intake of these is not very high.
No, Each of these tablets is only 1 calorie. And I used to speak at triathlon clubs, and the athletes would pummel me with questions. And they said, well, how can something with 1 calorie give me energy? And that was about 8 years ago. And I said, well, I'll find out why, because it works. And the Chinese Olympic teams have been taking them for 20, 30 years. So, and I now know, and I can explain it in great scientific detail to people. But you're right, it's very low caloric count, but it's very concentrated. Each one of our little tiny tablets, I'm going to show you in a minute. Here's a tablet here. I don't know if you can see that, has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So if, this is why I love it so much. Remember when I was teaching, people said they knew they should eat more vegetables and they knew they were good for them, but it was just too much work. So here's a chart that shows you, if you don't have time to eat all of that, have that. Just swallow that. Done. You're good. You'll never have to argue with your husband, your kids, and pets love this stuff too. And they're smarter than we are. Trust me.
They're a little bit more intuitive, that's for sure. And
yeah.
I would like to ask you, a couple of questions here. So what are the common sources of algae? Like I think of spirulina, chlorella. Are those the main two? Are there other ones that you think of when you think of algae? And when it comes to swallowing or chewing, what is your opinion on the best way to absorb things? Because is this something, if you're chewing, you're getting the digestive enzymes going, the saliva. So I'd love to just hear, what type of algae are we talking about and the best way to consume it?
Excellent. Great questions. So first of all, as I alluded to earlier, algae is a food. Now, the thing I haven't told you, though, is that algae was the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. Before algae, Earth was just gas and water. I have no idea what started it growing. Spirulina was the first one, but they do have fossils that are dated back to about 3 billion years. And we've only been here for about 800 million. So it was here about 3 billion years ahead of us, and it's still here. So there's got to be something special about that. But I mention that because algae is everywhere. It's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, your swimming pool, your aquarium. And those are all fine and very critical for sustaining the life in the oceans and the rivers. That's what the fish eat, that's what the whales eat, but they're toxic to human beings. So the only algae that you want to consume, and the ones that we sell, are harvested in fresh water. So 2 key points here: not grown in the ocean, and that they are harvested, which means they are monitored as an agricultural crop. And
why not in the ocean? Why does the ocean make a difference?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the ocean is toxic. We know that. And I mention that because a lot of people will go online and they'll read about blue-green algae, because the 2 algae we're talking about, one is an example of a blue-green algae and another one is a green algae. So you could read about blue-green algae blooms being toxic. Yes, if they're in the ocean, because that's where the algae, what it does is it kills bacteria. So when algae shows up, don't blame the algae. They're just showing up because bacteria has shown up, and most of it occurs in the summertime when there's more runoff from the agricultural crops. There's more, human waste in the ocean area. So algae poor algae gets beat up as being the blame, but they're just the cleanup crew. So it's toxic because that's what algae does, is it absorbs carbon dioxide and it kills bacteria. So you don't want algae that comes from it's the only thing I can think of that you don't want it wild. You want it cultivated, because it's the only way to protect yourself, because algae will absorb whatever's in the water. And if there's garbage in the water, there'll be garbage in your algae. And that's why we do third-party lab tests here in the United States at an FDA-approved lab to ensure people there isn't any toxins in ours, because we also sell ours. We're the only algae company that sells it through doctors nationwide. So algae is everywhere, but the only ones you want to eat are the ones that are harvested. Now, the 2 main ones that we're going to talk about are blue-green algae and green algae, although there's also a red algae. But there's 2 main categories within algae that I want to help you understand. One is called macroalgae and the other one is called microalgae. We're going to be talking mostly about microalgae, but what is macroalgae? Well, that's seaweed, dulse, kelp. It's all that big stringy stuff that washes up on shore. Maybe you get a dulse salad, and there's kelp noodles now. They're really good for you because of the fiber and the iodine, but there's virtually no nutrition in them. It's just fiber, okay? So it's good stuff, but not compared nutritionally. Microalgae has 1,000 times more nutrition than seaweed or macroalgae. And it's called microalgae because it's microscopic. You can't see this stuff. Something like about 100 cells will fit on the head of a pin. So that's why it's everywhere, and people are just not even aware of it. So the two that we're going to talk about, one is a blue-green algae and one is a green. Why are they called that? Because the green algae only has one pigment in it, which is chlorophyll, and the blue-green algae has two pigments in it. The blue one is called phycocyanin, and the green one is chlorophyll. I'll just diverge for a moment to show you, because when you look at our algae tablets, they look very similar, but trust me, there is the actual blue, the blue pigment, and I'm going to show you right now. So here's a chart that shows you a couple of tablets of spirulina in water, just a couple of them in water, and you can see this beautiful blue that comes out of the tablets. And down here, this is chlorella, which only has which only has one pigment, chlorophyll. Now, see how it clumps? I did this test 20 times. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I finally had my epiphany, and I'm going to share this with you. So the blue pigment that's in spirulina, called phycocyanin, which has lots of healing properties, we'll talk about it in a minute, is a water-based pigment. And this is one of the reasons why it's known for preventing the growth of blood vessels to tumors. It also stops the coronavirus from entering your cells, and we could talk about that in a minute, but all science-based. But it's water-based. Chlorella or chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, and that's why it doesn't disperse, because fat and water don't mix, right? And that's going to come up to be an important fact in a few minutes when I talk to you about the importance of chlorophyll. So we're talking about the fact that there's this blue-green algae and a green algae. So blue-green, one of the blue-green algae, and the one that's used and grown pretty much everywhere and that we sell, is called spirulina. And again, I'm going to show you, I don't know if you can see this, these are two tablets. This is the blue-green and this is the green algae. So spirulina is known to be an energizing algae. Why? Because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world, and all the protein is already in amino acid form. So it doesn't take any work for your body to gain access to it. It has 18 of the 20 aminos, including all the ones your body can't make. So it's a complete protein. Now, importantly, not only are those aminos individually available, spirulina is loaded with B vitamins. B vitamins are what convert aminos and glucose into energy. Spirulina also has a lot of iron, which carries oxygen in your blood, and that gives you energy. It releases nitric oxide, which opens up your blood vessels so that blood and nutrients can flow, and that gives you energy. It's loaded with essential fatty acids like omega-3, so it helps with your brain, thought. It's loaded with boron, and there's 40 other vitamins and minerals. So because it gives you energy, I thought, well, instead of calling it spirulina, let's call it ENERGYbits. Makes it a whole lot easier for people to remember. So that's what we did. There's also another amazing thing that spirulina does, because of the high protein and high antioxidants, is it builds your skin and hair health. So I made a second version of spirulina because we found women didn't like the blue packaging. I called it Beauty Bits because it builds your skin and hair. And if anyone's been learning about collagen as a way to improve your joints and your skin, I think that's a great thing. But I point out that spirulina has all the same protein as collagen, plus the highest chlorophyll in the world, plus 40 other vitamins and minerals. So I would just say up level, forget the collagen, up level and just take algae, you get everything and then everything else. So spirulina is very energizing. Now, it also satisfies your hunger. So a lot of people use it for intermittent fasting. And as I mentioned, there's only one calorie per tablet. So when you get up in the morning, that's usually when people have spirulina in the morning, in the afternoon, when you're tired, hungry, want a little bit of a boost, or before sports. We are used by 5 or 6 NHL teams, tons of Olympic teams, marathon runners, triathletes. They love it because it gives them steady energy, steady focus, and does not upset their stomach like all the gels and bars and drinks do, which are loaded with sugar and carbs. So there's 0 carbs in any of the algae. So it's ketogenic, paleo, vegan, and all that sort of good stuff. So it's great for a meal replacement, just to, get up and go in the morning, take, if you want to start casually, 2 or 3 tablets, 5 or 10 or better. I'd take like about 100 a day myself, but and our NHL players take 75. But I think if you aim for 5 or 10, if you're doing sports, maybe 15 or 15 to 30, you'll get a better performance. And you can, for spirulina, I would recommend you swallow them or put them in a smoothie, because there's nothing you can do to spirulina to make it taste better. And there's no shame in swallowing these things. So it is what it is. Chlorella, as you're going to find out, tastes actually pretty good, but nothing you can do about spirulina. So, but there's so much protein and so much nutrition that, it can replace almost all your other supplements. I would keep D3, but it would replace your fish oil, your CoQ10, your multivitamin, your all your magnesium, potassium. It's all in the algae. And because it's food, remember, we're from nature and so is algae. And so your body knows what to do with all the nutrients, not just the 40 that we have documented, but there's thousands of other, enzymes and coenzymes and factors and pigments that harmonize together. I tell people algae is the orchestra. It's got everything. It makes everything work better. And when you take a supplement, they're made from extracts, which don't exist in nature. And they're usually made in factories with high heat that kill them, the nutrients. That's why the numbers are so high on supplements, because they know that your body's only going to absorb 5 or 10% of it. With algae, you absorb 99% of it instantly. Now, you'd ask me about chewing or swallowing. The only benefit to chewing is that it does get into your bloodstream pretty quickly. But even without chewing spirulina, I want to point out that spirulina is technically a bacteria. There is no cellulose wall. Remember, it was the first life on Earth. It is a bacteria. So it gets absorbed almost instantly. Between that and the fact that the amino acids are all individual, makes it a very rapid absorption rate. And that's why the athletes love it so much. Now, in terms of setting expectations, this isn't something that's going to make you feel like you had a lightning bolt. This is no stimulants. There's no caffeine or sugar or anything. In fact, you might not even notice that you feel better. The best way to describe how you feel from spirulina is fresh. That's pretty much it. Just feel alert and fresh, like you had a good night's sleep. And, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good to me. I don't want to be lightning bolt energized and have a high and then a crash. You won't get a high and you won't get a crash. And you also don't have to worry about taking too much. It's food, so some people need a lot and some people need a little. So you could just play around with whatever works, but we do suggest, starting at least with 5 or 10, and then if you can get up to 30, again, remember, it replaces a lot of your other foods, including vegetables, protein, sports nutrition. You will have fewer trips to the grocery store, lower bills, and much better health. So I'm pretty proud of what spirulina does, and I know you know a fair amount about it as well, Rob. So that's kind of our spirulina story.
Well, wonderful. And again, a lot of incredible information there. And one thing I've been saying, I used to work at a juice bar probably 5 or so years ago. And so I'd always tell people, ditch the multivitamin and go for spirulina, because that's
Yeah,
what I look at spirulina as nature's multivitamin. That's kind of the way
exactly.
I've been looking at it. And like you said, when I'm looking at supplementation or superfoods or anything to boost my nutrition, other than eating vegetables and you kind of normal, put that in quotation mark, normal
Right.
ways of eating,
Yeah.
I look for whole foods. And that's a
Yeah.
big reason why I don't like multivitamins. Like you said, there are a lot of isolates. Also, if you have a multivitamin with all these different pieces, those don't go together in nature. A lot
Yeah.
of those are not congruent. They don't work well together. Sometimes they may actually conflict with each other. Like you
Exactly.
said, processed at high heat, probably not from the best sources. I don't know if I've ever seen an organic multivitamin. It's not that common that you see, because there's so many different sources it's coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about whole foods. And so I guess my question for you, you mentioned for athletic performance, are people consuming these prior to exercise, post-exercise, during exercise? Like, what's kind of the protocol for someone who's using this for athletic performance?
Yeah, well, and I do want to talk about chlorella because it's quite different from spirulina. But in general, spirulina you would take probably 15 minutes before or even during your workout. So it's fully absorbed by the time you start working out. And like with our marathon runners, they would take a full 30 before a race. And then they would take, we sell them in single packages, little single servings. I'll turn off my background. So they would take a few of these, tuck them in their pockets, and take another 10 or 15 whenever they start to feel that they're lagging a little bit, and their focus. When you're doing endurance sports, your focus is one of the first things that goes. And so they're always so stunned and pleased when they see that their focus comes back. So spirulina is always a pre-workout algae. Chlorella, as you're going to find out in a minute, is a post-workout algae. And the reason why it's post is because, as you're going to find out, one of the things it does is it pulls out toxins, and it identifies lactic acid as a toxin. So you won't get DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, and you won't get a buildup of lactic acid, and so your muscles aren't sore the next day. The other thing, as anybody who pushes themselves in any kind of endurance sport or any kind of competitive sport, when you push yourself, it's hard on your immune system. And I know a lot of marathon runners and triathletes who get sick after their race because they've pushed themselves. So the chlorella will help build your immune system. You should be taking it all along the way while you're training, and certainly on the day after your race or your competition to ensure your immune system works better. And I'll talk, well, maybe that's a good segue to get into chlorella, because it's completely different than spirulina. So as I mentioned, spirulina has the highest concentration of protein in the world. Well, chlorella has the highest concentration of chlorophyll. And you say, well, what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, I could talk all day about that, but let me give you a few things. First of all, I'm going to show you a chart here. This is the chemical composition of your hemoglobin, and this is the chemical composition of your blood. Notice that they're almost identical. That's because they are. The only difference is in your blood, you have an iron atom in the middle, and that's what carries oxygen in your hemoglobin. And in chlorophyll, it's magnesium in the middle. Otherwise, they're identical. And that's why spirulina, or algae, particularly chlorella, which has the highest chlorophyll in the world, remember 1,000 times more than Chinese greens and almost twice as much as spirulina, because spirulina has two pigments. So chlorophyll's been used for centuries for when people are having surgeries or injuries, because it builds their blood. Even up as recently as World War II, they would give the injured liquid chlorophyll, because they found if they ran out of blood transfusions, the liquid chlorophyll would help them heal just as fast as if they'd had a blood transfusion. And it also can be used topically because it kills bacteria. So that's number one about chlorophyll: build your blood, because when you have healthy blood, you're going to have healthy organs, you're going to have a healthy liver, healthy brain. It's just everything is working better because it's getting nourished by healthy blood. Number two, excuse me, as I mentioned earlier, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. Now, here's why that is so important. All of your health issues start at the cellular level and the mitochondria in the cells. And so the way to keep your mitochondria and your cells healthy is to ensure that they are getting the nutrients in that they need and the toxins out. And that cell wall is your gateway for that to happen. Now, if you don't have healthy fats, those cell walls are not very permeable, and that process it becomes faulty. So, because chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, it helps heal those cell walls. And the best analogy I've come up with is, when you have dirty windows, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. It's not a very good situation. So think of chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls. It's just that simple. And I used to wonder when people said they were doing a cleanse, and doing juices. Well, now I know what's actually cleansing. It's those cell walls. So it's pretty cool. So that's number one, two key things about chlorophyll. The third thing is that it is a critical nutrient for building your immune system. And right now, with COVID still around, we all need a strong immune system. And the way your immune system works is there's all these bacteria in your gut that create cells to defend you when an invader has appeared either in your skin, your nose, your mouth, or wherever. But it needs, and the cells that it makes to defend you are things like killer cells, T cells, B cells, macrophages, white blood cells. You can learn all about these online. So one of the key nutrients that help build all these cells is chlorophyll. And if you don't have chlorophyll in your body, it's not going to be able to create those cells. In fact, there's other nutrients that are also found in the chlorophyll, like zinc and the amino acids and the vitamin A and all the B3, all the Bs. So chlorophyll and chlorella are the easiest way to protect your health, so that you and or recover your health, which is why we call our chlorella recovery bits. Chlorella is a little tough to say, tough to spell. I thought recovery bits would be a whole lot easier because it helps you recover from anything, including sports, as I mentioned, because it pulls out lactic acid. So those are the key three things about the chlorophyll in the chlorella. But chlorella offers a whole lot more. In fact, that's why it's known as a wellness algae. Spirulina is known as an energizing algae. Chlorella is a wellness algae. So what else does it do that's so amazing? Well, remember I said spirulina has no cellulose wall and it's technically a bacteria. Chlorella does belong to the plant kingdom, and it has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom. So hard that it has to be cracked at production. Otherwise your body couldn't absorb it. But what's amazing about that hard cell wall is that it identifies toxins in your body and pulls them out. We're talking heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation. We work with biological dentists who use it to pull out mercury when they take out fillings. It was used by the United Nations at Chernobyl to pull out radiation. If you're getting vaccines, it will pull out aluminum. It's unbelievable. It will pull out everything. Now you will need the detox amount. For wellness benefits, you only need maybe 5 or 10 a day. For detox, you certainly need closer to 20 or 30 tablets a day, but we can get to that in a minute. So it's that hard cell wall pulls out toxins. Now, the other cool thing about the hard cell wall is that it has fiber in it. And if you've read anything about your gut biome, you know that you need healthy fiber to feed those beautiful bacteria down there so they're happy and release what's called short chain fatty acids. And that ensures that your immune system is working properly and the vagus nerve communication is active and everybody's happy. So the hard cell wall and the fiber does that. That's one of the reasons why, by the way, chlorella has been used for decades for IBS and Crohn's, any kind of gut issue, because the chlorophyll is cleansing, the hard cell wall is pulling out the toxins, and the fiber heals the gut biome. So it's a trifecta for sure. Chlorella also has other nutrients in it that can't be found elsewhere, like vitamin K2, which pulls out excess calcium from all your soft tissue, like your blood vessels or your skin. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of 50% of heart disease is caused by what they call arteriosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. And I tell people, well, guess what's hardening? It's calcium that's hardening. It's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be calcium, it's supposed to be in your bones. And this vitamin K2, which was discovered just about 25 years ago, is the only nutrient that will remove the calcium out of your blood vessels and move it safely into your bones. And virtually everybody in North America is deficit in K2 because it doesn't exist in any of our foods other than grass-fed animal protein, a dish called natto, which is a Japanese dish, and in the algae. And chlorella has twice the amount of spirulina. It also pulls out calcium from your skin because that's another soft tissue. The calcium attacks your elastin, which causes wrinkles, so it keeps you young. I don't really have any wrinkles, and I'm a lot older than you think. Well, chlorella also has what's called chlorella growth factor that helps speed the growth of your cells, and it has the highest RNA and DNA in the world, which helps you heal when you get sick. So overall, like I said, chlorella is a wellness detoxing algae. So most people take chlorella at night. Why? Because when you sleep, your body goes through a detox and repair cycle, assuming you're in a deeper sleep. So if you have chlorella in your body while that's going on, it will be a much better detox and a much better repair. I don't know if you know this, but your brain shrinks a little bit when you're sleeping in your deep sleep, and it has its own lymphatic system that basically is like the street washers and cleans out your brain. So if you have chlorella in your bloodstream while you're sleeping, it will help remove things like aluminum from your brain and other body parts as well, which is really great. And that's why I say that taking chlorella is like giving your body a shower from the inside. We all take a shower on the outside, but chlorella is the equivalent of giving your body a shower on the inside, because it pulls out all these toxins and all this gunk and things that shouldn't be there, toxins, viruses, whatever. It also stimulates peristalsis. So if you take it before you go to bed, and then maybe if you want more in the morning, you'll have a very happy and productive trip to the bathroom. And so most people take it at night, but you can take it any time of day. I eat them all day long. Again, here's what they look like. They're little tablets. This is spirulina and this one's chlorella. See how the colors are different? That's because this is the blue-green algae with the 2 pigments. And this is the chlorella, which is just the chlorophyll, the 1 pigment. Now, the good thing about chlorella is it tastes pretty good. So, and each one of these, remember, each tablet has the equivalent nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So if you hate vegetables, or you don't want to go out do all that work, or your kids won't eat them, or your husbands won't eat them, I just had a plate of vegetables. How easy is that? Doesn't get any easier. And I eat them with sea salt, macadamia nuts, almonds. My team know I eat these all day. Like I literally have at least 150 a day. It's a main food for me. You don't have to eat that many. And if you don't like the flavor, just swallow them or chew them. Now I've had 3 plates of vegetables, right? I hardly buy any vegetables anymore because I eat so much algae. So can you tell that I'm pretty pumped about this stuff because it works. I've been taking it for 10 years. I couldn't live without it. It gives you great digestion and pulls out toxins. It keeps you young, keeps your bowel movements going. And the 2 of them together are really like the power couple. I say, the spirulina gets you energized and focused for your day or your activities, driving, working, going to school. And the chlorella builds your immune system, protects you, helps you recover. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention that pulls out as a toxin is alcohol. So if you ever have a glass of wine at night or a few beers at the game, because hey, I work and live about a block away from where the Bruins and the Celtics play, so I'm well aware of our sports town. And we're not trying to stop anyone from having any fun. We just want you to feel great the next day. And I say Mother Nature had one heck of a sense of humor. She gave us spirulina so we can get all jazzed to go to the game or whatever we're doing. And then she gave us chlorella so that we can recover from our whatever party that we were at and feel great the next day and do it again. So it's your twofer. It's more than that. I call it not just a superfood, but a super duper food.
Well, you definitely got me inspired to up my game of spirulina and chlorella. I take a little bit of spirulina every day, but I can't say take chlorella every day. So definitely going to be upping that dosage there. And a theory I've heard, I'd love to hear if there's any science behind this, but a lot of people say, you mentioned chlorophyll, that the more chlorophyll we can consume, we're actually able to absorb energy from the sun better. Is that
Yes.
scientific fact or is that theory?
No, I have read the science on that. I'm so glad that you know about that. It's pretty amazing. There's not a lot of science, and it certainly needs to be more research. So here, and I have started recently doing red light therapy, which provides the red and the far red beneficial rays of the sun. Like, unfortunately, the sun has UV rays, which are damaging, but it has very healing rays that are the red spectrum. So here's what happens. When you have chlorophyll and you either have the sunlight or red light therapy, what it does, you have to have the 2 of them together. But you can't, apparently it doesn't work without the sun, so you can't just take the chlorophyll. There's a process in your mitochondria that generate ATP. And there's this, what's called the redox chain. And as the ATP is being generated, different molecules like CoQ10 are what's called the transport chain. They carry the molecule, like sort of like an assembly line to feed the ATP. But in the process of doing that, the CoQ10, which started out as a antioxidant, becomes oxidized and now becomes a free radical, which can be damaging. But when you have the chlorophyll and the sunlight, what it effectively does is it neutralizes that free radical composition of the CoQ10 and converts it back to the original CoQ10. It's called ubiquinol, and I can't remember the other one, but it converts it back. So basically recycles the CoQ10 so that it spins off more energy. So you get twice the amount of energy because of this recycling effect of the CoQ10. And the CoQ10 is a critical part of the process. And by the way, the mitochondria and the cell wall, none of this process happens without healthy fats. And again, the chlorophyll speeds up. So even without the sunlight, it's going to be a much more effective process, and you'll get better energy because of the efficiency. But when you add the red light from the sun or from red light therapy, and I can send you the science article about this, it shows that you generate your own ATP. Up until now, they thought only fats or carbs were the source of generating ATP. But, and I believe it, and I know a lot of in India, where there's a lot of gurus, and they virtually eat nothing, and they're probably out in the sun a lot, and I'm not really sure what they are eating, but I bet there's a lot of and they do grow a lot of spirulina actually in India. So I'm certainly excited about it, and I just bought myself some red light therapy myself, and within 2 days I felt a difference. In reduced inflammation, better attitude. I mean, I'm always a high energy person, but even a CEO who works 16-hour days and 7 days a week gets tired. And I have found the red light therapy has just given me a boost. It's like getting the algae's been great, and I couldn't live without algae. And I'm getting to a point where I don't know if I could live without the red light therapy either. So it's pretty cool. I would encourage people to Google it, chlorophyll and ATP and sunlight. You'll find the article, and we'll send it to you anyways. You can post it with the show notes.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. And yeah, it's definitely something too, like, to me, it makes sense. Intuitively, it makes sense. And
me too.
It's nice to hear that there's also some science to balance out that intuitive side. And I started using red light therapy maybe about 6 months ago, because as you know, here in Boston, Massachusetts, we don't get sun for about half.
Yeah, 6 months.
So that's when I decided this past fall, this year, I'm not going to go another winter without getting, some sort of beneficial light. So I got the red light therapy.
Good for you.
And I can certainly say it's made a big difference. And I think that, especially having it on my face, around my head, that's been really beneficial. And even on my chest, my stomach, kind of where all the major organs are, I found to be very beneficial. So now you've got me going into my science experiments to working in some of this algae with the red light therapy. And obviously now we have the sun. Well, today it's a cloudy day, but generally speaking, this time of year, we'll start getting some sunlight.
Yeah.
But I'd love to just kind of dive into a typical protocol. So let's say the average person wants to get into algae. They want to get into chlorella. They want to get into spirulina. They're sold on the benefits. What does a typical day look like from waking up to going to bed? When are you taking it? And, how does that all work?
Sure. And great question. So I usually start people with spirulina, unless they have a health issue and they really want the detox benefits, because spirulina has been, both of them have been safely used for 50 or 60 years, but you will feel the difference from spirulina within half an hour. You don't have to wait long at all. Your hunger will be gone, or maybe even 2 minutes if you chew it, but most people swallow it. And there's nothing like feeling some benefits immediately to inspire you to keep going. So but you could start with chlorella, but because it's a wellness algae, and you would feel the benefits immediately from detoxing after alcohol, but otherwise it's kind of a preventative maintenance kind of algae. So if you are have had a bad well, let's say not bad, but if your meal planning hasn't been healthiest, shall we say, and you want to start very, cautiously, even 2 or 3 tablets would be better just to get you going. We've had people that were anemic who took 2 tablets and said they had the best workout of their life. But realistically, I think you should be aiming for 5 or 10 tablets a day to get started. If you can take all 10 in the morning, great. Take 5 with your tea or water or whatever. They're really great in the morning to get you started. And if your meal planning protocol has been healthier and you want more energy, then take closer to 10 or 20. You can crush these up in a coffee grinder and add them to your smoothie. But most people just swallow them because of the convenience. Now, if you're an athlete or you're getting up and going for a workout, I would suggest closer to 15 to get the true, get a better spurt of energy. Again, remember, it's not going to be any lightning bolt. It's just going to be kind of, you just feel fresher and readier. So after you've had your 5, 2, 5, 10 in the morning, maybe take another 5 or 10 at lunch if you just don't have time to eat, or take it, if you're on a weight loss program, if you take 5 or 10 before you eat, it will, but 10 minutes before you eat, it will decrease your appetite. So if overeating is a problem, and trust me, I know about that problem, that will help keep your hunger down. And remember, there's only 1 calorie per tablet. So have a few more at lunchtime. And then maybe around 3 o'clock, we all get a little tired. That's when your cortisol is dropped to its lowest point. That's probably a really good time to maybe take another 5 or 10. And again, if you want to take a few more if you even have an evening workout, that's, take as many as you need then. Remember, it's food. So it's not a drug. It's not a supplement. So it's like, people say, well, that means 30 a day. Well, sure. I mean, we used to tell athletes to take at least 30 to 75 before a game. So it's just efficient nutrition. But yeah, start with 5 or 10 in the morning and see how you go. If you're cautious at all, and I like to encourage people to take baby steps, take fewer and see how you feel. And monitor that. Now, I would encourage you to drink a little bit more water when you take them, because it's very high protein and your body needs water to process protein. So that's spirulina. With chlorella, so then throughout the rest of the day, I switch over to chlorella. I personally snack on chlorella all day long, as I mentioned, because I just love it. And I eat it with some sea salt, or I actually have a truffle salt that I get from Amazon. You can put it on your salads. It's a nice garnish, gives it a little salty crunch. And definitely before I go to bed, I take quite a significant number. It's my evening snack. It's still a 60% protein, so it takes a little bit of your hunger edge away. Again, still only 1 calorie. But I would, if you want wellness benefits, 10 is plenty to take at night. But if you're doing a detox, you're going to need to up your game to closer to 20 to 30. Now, a lot of people think that's a lot, but remember, A, there's only 1 calorie. B, it's still food. And when you take, when you're doing a detox, like I'm pretty cleaned out because I take, as I said, about 100 a day. But if you don't want to do that many all the time, you could start with your 5 or 10, and then ease into a detox for a cycle of maybe 2 weeks, up it to 20 to 30, and then come back down to 5 or 10, and then, cycle on and cycle off. I have, we have a protocol for Lyme disease, and we have some people doing this cycling methodology. They use tinctures of stevia to kill the mites, and then they take the chlorella to pull the dead stevia out. And you have to do this for months because they constantly regrow, but it's that cycling on and cycling off. So 5 or 10 of spirulina in the morning, maybe 5 or 10 at lunch or midday, maybe another 10 or 15 before a workout, then switch over to chlorella, maybe 5 or 10 before you go to bed, or if you're doing a detox, kind of more of a 20 to 30. If you start to like the chlorella like I have, your body will crave it because you feel so good. You just feel so clean. It doesn't become any kind of hardship whatsoever. So that would, now remember because it's so loaded in chlorophyll, if you take that many, just be aware that your poop will be a little green. Don't be worried. That's a sign that it's moving through your body, pulling out toxins, doing all the good stuff. So I just want to give people a little bit of tip about that.
Wonderful. Well, I always say, you get a lot of feedback about your health when you look in that toilet bowl. So I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to take analysis that it's working. And
Yeah.
well, Catherine, this has been incredibly informative. I know as someone who I thought I knew a good amount about algae, now I can say I was just scratching the surface. So thank you so much
You're
for
very welcome.
all the wisdom. And I'd love to just have you share where people can get involved in terms of getting some energy bits. Where can they try your spirulina, try your chlorella, and how can they follow along with all the cool stuff you're doing?
Sure, sure. So our website is ENERGYbits.com, ENERGY, B for boy, IT for Tom, S for Sam, ENERGYbits.com. And we are based here in Boston. So if there's some Bostonians who want to come and see our little office, we're bootstrapped startup. I was on Shark Tank a few years ago, and they keep airing my segment. So yeah, and we've got some big people looking at us. I can't tell you what it is yet, but you'll be, if it works out, it's pretty big, but and it's sort of Boston connected. And we're very active on social. Our Instagram handle is ENERGYbits, same with Facebook and Twitter. And we have a 20% discount code for your listeners. And that discount code is Whole Health, all one word. It works on all of the products. Remember, what I was saying earlier about how the algae is so nutrient dense. So when you come to our website, sorry, I'm just trying to get back here. We sell most of the products, the tablets in bags, and I don't want people to have sticker shock, but a big bag like this has 1,000 tablets in it. And it sells for normally $120. With your discount, it brings it to $96. But remember, there's the equivalent nutrition of 551 pounds, okay? And each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables, but there's, here's the little tablet again. 551 pounds that you didn't have to buy at the grocery store. At $3 a pound, that would have been $1,500. And you don't have to carry them home, clean them, or cook them. So it's very efficient nutrition. And if you're not ready for a full bag, we also offer a sample pack. And you can also go on Amazon and buy the single servings of the different packets for $4. And just to remind people again, the spirulina, which is the one that gives you energy or builds your skin and hair. We have two versions, ENERGYbits and BeautyBits. And there's only two because we found when I first started, women weren't attracted to the blue packaging, and women's health is very important to me. So, and because it builds your skin and hair, so we call it BeautyBits. And someone said, oh, you've got a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina. So, pretty much. So that's spirulina, two of them. Then the chlorella, which is the one that is your immune builder and pulls out toxins, helps you recover your health. That's ENERGYbits. And we actually have a fourth brand that's called ENERGYbits, and it's a blend of the two algae. So it's 50% spirulina and 50% chlorella. We also have lots of science on our website. We do a very comprehensive blog every month. This month's about sustainability. And do watch that movie Seaspiracy that talks about how the commercial fishing is killing the oceans, and they recommend algae as the answer. We're trying to get in touch with them and tell them, yeah, we agree with you. Algae is the answer. It's the answer for you and your health and your children, and it's also the answer for Mother Earth. So I'm very proud about what we do, and I hope everyone will give it a try. Don't forget to use Whole Health for your 20% discount. It works all the time on everything, so don't panic. And thank you for sharing part of your day with me, and be open to learning about something. I tell people, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. It's been around for centuries. It's been used safely for 50 years in Asia, and it's your turn to enjoy the same benefits. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, Catherine, thank you so much once again, everybody, for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll put all those links in the description box here if you didn't get a chance to check those out. But as Catherine said, we have the 20% discount code Whole Health, so you can get your algae in your system, get yourself charged up, but not a lightning bolt charge up, just a freshen up. So
Yeah.
Enjoy the products. Catherine, thank you again. Everybody listening, have the best day ever, and we'll see you soon.